11th of April 1993, reporting on incident of 22nd of April 1941, whereupon upon returning from Exeter she was taken into Devonport Technical School air raid shelter, and there the air raid shelter was affected by a bomb and she was trapped therein. Okay, Mrs. Stokes.
Yeah. Well, I went down the steps into the shelter.
You went to Exeter first, didn't you?
Oh yes, I went to Exeter.
Can you start from Exeter, going up to Exeter that day?
Well, I'd been up there staying for the weekend actually.
Yeah.
I went up on Tuesday. I went up there on the Saturday.
Yeah.
Before, and I stayed with my cousins in that. And then on the Tuesday of this incident, we went up into the town. I went up with my cousin Phil. And of course all the shops down here had been bombed, and of course I went and got some shopping. I got a hat and various other things, you know, for the wedding and everything, and we had a good look around. And of course I went back to Phil's and we had tea and all that, and then well, they took me to the station, my cousin Len and Phil. So previously to that I'd been to my other cousin's, Elsie's, and she'd fitted my wedding dress. And she said that she wouldn't need me to come for another fitting, it would be all right. She showed me the two bridesmaids' dresses, and she was getting on with them. And then of course I went, as I say, up with Phil, and we done some shopping. Well, they took me to the station, St David's Station, put me on the train, and I mean it had been a beautiful day actually, lovely and sunny, and I got on the train, and once or twice they stopped the train because of the raids. Well, then, of course, eventually we got into, what was it, Priory Station there, wasn't it? Devonport Station, wasn't it? That's right, that was Devonport. Out there at Devonport it was there. And, of course, the raid was it was darker then, and the raid was in full swing. And when I got onto the platform, I mean, I had my ticket and that, and the ticket collector, he said, oh, your ticket? He said, well, he said, you'd have to go over. He said, there's an air raid shelter up behind the technical school. He said, that's the nearest one. So he said, I should advise you to go over there. Well, of course, I had a hat box and a mat because I couldn't get it all in my hat box and that. And I came outside the station. And, well, you don't know, you could hear all the guns and all the siren was going, or, you know, various things, and all the searchlights were on. And, well, I tell you, I made a quick move to get into the shelter. Well, when I got into the shelter, we went down the steps, and the warden was there, and he said, he said, it's full up this end. He said, you'll have to go down the other end. Of course, we had to climb down through. There was other people that got off the train as well, and we all got down and got down to the far end. Well, we were there for quite a while. There was a very nice lady sitting opposite me and her husband, and she had a flask, and she said to me, she's a bit cold, isn't it? Because it was cold in there. And I said, well, yes, it is. So she said, I've got a flask, my dear. She said, would you like to have a drink? So I said, oh, well, if you've got one to spare, thank you. I said, I've just come off the train like you. So anyway, she started to undo the flask, and we had this drink, and we there sat talking, and all of a sudden, the lights went out, and it was all dark, and then we heard this awful crash, you know, and well, we knew what had happened. Apparently, I think the bomb had fallen the other end, where it was all the people, where a lot of the people were when we came in. That's why we had to go to the other end. And, well, it was all very, very dark, and well, you could hear people shouting and all that. I thought, oh, goodness, whatever is it, you know, and then because we realised that there had been a bomb. Well, as I say, I was there for quite some time, and then the wardens came. And they had their torches because they had to be very careful not to, because the raid was still on, you see. And he flashed the torch and he said, anyone there? I said, yes, I'm here. He said, well, I'm afraid we're going to have to leave you. And there was 2 or 3 others there as well. He said, because he said, we can't touch you to get you out until we shore the shelter up. So I said, how long that? And he said, I don't know. So of course off they went, and they started to shore whatever they couldn't shore it up. Well, I suppose we were there. I was there about 2 or 3 hours before they got us out. And then eventually they got us out, and they had these open ambulances which they put us on, and of course, I mean, they took us off into hospital then. We went up to the city hospital. Well, of course, it was like, you know, it was dreadful. There were so many people coming in. And anyway, eventually, it was my turn. They got us in. Instead of taking your clothes off, they just had scissors and cut everything off of you and took off your shoes and everything. And of course, we got you upstairs, or got you in the lift. Although I don't think the lift was even working. I got a feeling they had to carry us up the stairs on the stretchers and get us into the beds there when they got us up in the ward. Well, I was there for quite some time. And then, of course, they took us up to Exeter. They wouldn't leave us here.
You say you had a broken pelvis?
Yes.
So, can I talk to you about the incident of hearing the crump or the bang and the lights going out? Could we enlarge on that?
Oh, yes. Well, it was an awful feeling. We all went, it sort of, but it all went dark. And then all you could hear was a sort of whistle. It was like that, and then you heard a terrific crash, and well, you almost thought everything was all going to fall in on top of you. And of course, we all came. We were sitting on these wooden forms, and it knocked us off the force of the blast. We ended up on the floor. You know, we ended up. Of course, I was, well, all the debris and everything. I couldn't move. It was right up here to my waist and that. I couldn't move. I couldn't move my feet. Well, when the man took me out, the warden took me out. He got me out eventually, and he said to me, he said, "Is that your shoes?" So, of course, I had green shoes on because I had that green coat. And I looked and I said, "Oh, yes, they're green, aren't they?" He said, "Yes, well, that must be your feet," and that, he said. Because I couldn't feel anything when he took me out, and I only recognised it must have been either the green shoes I had on. And he said, "They're green shoes," he said that, and he was sort of there because he had to clear all the rubber away and everything.
Could you tell me about hearing the bang? What did you actually hear or feel?
Well, it shattered. It was a sort of awful shatter. It was a sort of whistling sound and a sort of shatter. And then it was like as if somebody came in just like that. Everything, you know, sort of went to pieces, like, you know. Of course, it was up the other end from us, I think. We caught the end of the blast, but I think up the other end it was, where we came in and where everybody was sitting. So I should imagine, I don't know whether there must have been quite a few. There must have been killed, actually.
How black was it when it all went out then?
Well, black as ink it was, awful black. And you could feel all the, you know, it's sort of all the dust and all that, you know, and you into your mouth and that. It was a horrible. For days afterwards, you sort of had this awful sort of feeling of all this dust in your mouth. It was all that sort of feeling.
What about the other people in the air shelter? What happened when, I mean, you obviously were injured. What about the other people? What did you hear afterwards?
Well, they were all screaming and all that, and there was some people saying, "I'm here," and all that shouting and everything. Well, I mean, they were all scared like everybody was. And I mean, I was more scared. I was afraid that they were going to leave me there, because I said to the warden, "You won't leave me here, will you?" He said, "No." And I said, "You know, I was afraid that if they might forget all about you, you know, if you sort of went off, if you sort of, well, what can I say? Say you went unconscious or something like that, they would leave you there." So I said to him, "You won't leave me there." He said, "No, I know that you're there." He said, "But he said, we can't do nothing until we shore the shelter up." He said, "If we touch it as it is now," he said, "it'll make it worse than ever. It'll come down worse than ever on top of you." So of course we had about, was it a good 2-3 hours, I suppose, before they managed to get us out. They had to clear it, and I don't know what they'd done, and they sort of shored it up. I suppose they'd done something to make it a little bit safer.
You can't remember what sort of work they did in there? You can't, while you were there, you can't remember what they did to shore the shelter off?
No, I can't, because you see it was so dark, and they only had some little torches, because you see they were afraid to use anything much. We said they couldn't use much because of the raid was still on. Of course, I mean, this is it. It was pretty, you know, scary, like really a bit.
Well, I think something happened to your family the next day, didn't it?
Yes,
well?
My mother and that, they lost the house in Station Road. That came down. My mother was down in their shelter. They had reinforced shelter. They were all right, though they got them out. They weren't hurt. But Mother's house came down, and, well, all the back of it, and in the end they had to pull it down. And sort of the people came a couple of days after and pulled it all down, didn't they? Well, they were going to pull it down. I went in they took me in the hospital on the Tuesday, and my mother didn't know where I was till the Friday. It was a Friday, wasn't it? And the policeman came up the road to tell my mother that I was in the hospital, as men came to pull the house down because it wasn't safe, wasn't it? They had to pull her house and the other house the other side as well because the house wasn't safe. They wouldn't leave it.
So you cancelled your wedding?
Well, yes, we. Where were you then? You were at Leicester, weren't you? That's right, you were up Dorothy. That's right, you were at Leicester. So we had to cancel the wedding. It was due. Well, it's Monday we were going to be married. Of course, I don't know. We should have got on because the church, the chapel where I was going to be married, that was bombed and everything. And of course, we were married in the Christmas. We married the 22nd of December instead.
So it was happy ever after then?
Well, yes, because we celebrated our golden wedding not last Christmas, the Christmas before.
Okay.
It was such a force, and I think we were also going off these wooden sort of seats that they had there, and I seemed to have got off and been on the floor. I think the majority, though you couldn't really see where you were because, I mean, it was so dark. See, all the lights went out. It was so dark, actually.
So was it a bang, did you hear, or sort of a whoosh, or what?
Well, it was a sort of whistle, and then there was a sort of whistle, and, well, then, as I say, all the lights went out, and then we heard this terrific bang, and, well, it was like as if everything was coming in on top of you, sort of awful feeling, you know.
So you came off the bench, but you weren't lying down horizontally?
No, I was sort of up a bit, because I had my hands and everything, but everything went, I mean...
You felt weight on your legs?
Yes, and up to here, I couldn't move.
Rubble?
Yes, I couldn't move at all, because I think all the ceilings had sort of, or part of the ceilings had collapsed or something. Something like that. I don't know what really had happened, but so we were buried, you know, and, well, as I say, he said, we can't do nothing and get you out until we shore it up.
So the rescue party took all this off you?
That's, well, they dug in that.
By hand, or how did they dig this off you? Can you remember that at all?
No, I don't really.
Okay.
I don't know whether they used their hands, but there was two of them there that came to get us out. And it was very nice.
Just two people?
Well, two, but there was others there as well.
With other people?
Yes.
So there were two people looking after you?
Well, yes.
And presumably other people looking after other people?
That's right. There was quite a few of the, you know, the air raid people there. They were all in tin helmets and everything, you know, but they had the small torches, but I mean, they were there wasn't an awful lot of light. You couldn't see. You were left in the dark most of the time, actually.
But if we say this is the main section of the air raid shelter, basically these rescue workers could stand.
Oh, they must have been. Well, I think they did scram in a bit to get at us. Like, because I think there was loads and loads of rubber and it all come down, actually.
And how many people were trapped with you? Can you remember the scene immediately around you?
Well, there was this man and woman, the person that offered me the cup of tea. There was quite a few there out with us, actually. And, of course, as I say, the other part of the shelter was quite crowded because that's why we had to go into this other part.
What did you talk about while you're waiting to be rescued? Can you remember that?
Well, I couldn't see anybody really to talk to. It was so dark. And I mean, those two people that were with me, that man and woman, the woman offered me the tea. I don't know whether she was knocked unconscious. No, there didn't seem to be anybody there to say anything. But you could hear people sort of talking a bit in the distance, if you know. They must have been further back. And I mean, when it did happen, I mean, you heard people screaming and all that and everything, and then it sort of all went a bit quiet.
You say you left things behind. You took all your shopping in with you, didn't you?
Well, yes.
Could you recap on that for me again? Well,
I had a hat box and with stuff that I bought for the wedding, you know, in there. Hats and various other things, because as I say, all Plymouth had been bombed and you couldn't get much down here. And I had a gas mask and my handbag and my Mac, that tartany Mac I had. And, well, that was, I don't know whether I had an umbrella or no. Might have had an umbrella with me, because I couldn't get it in the hat box and that.
And your shoes? Did you come out with your shoes on, or did they get lost?
Oh, no, the shoes were on.
You don't have them still, do you?
No.
Shame.
No, they kept them up the hospital, I think.
Yes?
Yes.
That's
There
incredible.
was a pair of green shoes, and you know, it's very funny, isn't it? I've never bought nothing much green since. This was a proper real green one with that coat and everything, and I've never really had happy in green since. Because they say green is unlucky, don't they? Well, wasn't it all out to Devonport? And there was fire, and you could see the sky was red, and of course the searchlights was up, and you could hear the planes and all. I'll tell you what, I didn't half move when I come out of the station. I didn't hang around, so I soon scooted across, and then I saw the signs there, and I just followed the road, and then I saw the sign, I couldn't get down there quick enough.